Good morning. Welcome to Mental Attire, the medium series. Today we are going to talk about what are you mentally wearing today? And I would like to introduce, we have Caitlin
Hello.
and we have Cleopatra and I am Amy. So what are you mentally wearing today?
Well, I mean, I think that the first thing, because obviously we're a merch, like we started as a merch company, but something that we've become kind of more passionate about and we want to share is that it's not just about merch, it's about what you're clothing yourself in mentally and physically,
Mhm.
which goes beyond any sweatshirt or t-shirt or anything. It's about first of all what mindset you're starting your day off with, I guess you would say, and how that translates into what you're wearing for the day. So,
Mhm.
I would say when we get dressed in the morning, when I get dressed in the morning, I think about, as you said, mentally the place that I'm at. And, it can be challenging at times. You feel like, oh, I don't feel like dressing this way. But then again, who are we ultimately dressing for?
Mhm.
Are we
Exactly.
dressing for the people we're going to be seeing or the people that are going to be seeing us? Are we dressing for God? Are
Mhm.
we dressing for our spirit? Are we doing our best to send healthy, godly, wise messages out in the world? And being a lady, being a girl.
I think it's taking that time and putting that thought into what you're wearing because sometimes it's so easy just to throw in whatever and be like, okay, I got to go about my day. So busy, rush, rush, rush. And what I've learned is, yeah, it's busy, rush, 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 but give yourself some grace, give yourself that time to prepare yourself for the day. And it makes yourself feel just overall so much better.
yeah. Well, I think another thing is to like kind of take inventory of what you're, if you say you don't have enough time,
Mhm.
then what are you doing in that time? What can you eliminate? What habits could you kind of
Mhm.
break or change out so you have more time? Because the truth is you do have time, and if you look at what you're actually doing with that time, you're probably going to realize, oh, I'm saying I don't have time because it's an easy excuse, but I
Mhm.
have these things. I sit there and scroll on my phone, or I just kind of like, don't really have anything that I'm specifically doing, but I'm just kind of not taking the time to, like you said, just evaluate what you want your mindset to be for the day, and that translates into what you're wearing, how you go about it, who you're dressing for, like you guys were talking about. And so I think that's another thing, is like a good first step is evaluating what you're using your time on,
Mhm.
and then so then you can't have the excuse of I don't have time, you know.
Yeah.
Well, and we have a saying hanging somewhere about, how our today goes and how our morning starts is from the night before.
Yeah.
So how are you going to bed? How are you, what are you doing before bed? Are you having technology in the bedroom? Are you on it before you go to bed? Are you drinking water or sugar or caffeine or, eating icky, I mean, it all plays out. And then the next morning, you could be thinking the night before. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't think about the next day of what I'm going to be wearing. But we're going to be foggy. You're going to be cranky. You're going to be all of these things if we're not coming in from the night before with a good night's sleep, waking up, you know, everybody has that flood of everything for their day. Well, as you said, Cleopatra, how we're spending our time,
Mhm.
excuses.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, like starting having those habits at night really does prepare you for that next morning and for your mindset for the next morning. So like I like to do something like a gratitude journal, or me and my husband will do devotions together at night. And we'll journal together. So that's just some way to kind of, I think, calm yourself too, and maybe a list of things you'd like to get done within the next day. So whenever you first wake up, you're not constantly or just immediately, ugh, there's so much to do, or I can't focus on, all these different things coming at me.
Mhm. Well, and like we do prayers and intentions and before bed as a family. We talk about who we can pray for and set intentions for. And that even goes as far as how are we living? If we're
Mhm.
setting intentions for others, are we practicing those things ourselves to be able to help encourage others? And then in the morning, are you doing gratitude and prayers and connecting with God and the Bible and getting that wisdom? That's going to set the pace for the day. Our mental, our
Mhm.
mindset, even everywhere in the Bible, they talk about, it's talked about our thoughts, our beliefs, our mindset. And, sometimes, like you mentioned, what we want to throw on, like, is that going to really help me today?
Mhm.
How am I going to present myself? Not because it doesn't matter about what other people say, but I'm a reflection of my spirit and God
Mhm.
and and our body. It's not just our clothes, it's also how am I carrying myself? You know, what attitude do I have? What behaviors? What's my bodily actions? My body language.
And you think your body is not your own. It's an indwelling place for the Holy Spirit. And so I think that's something that's resonated with me recently. Like, how am I taking care of this temple that is seriously not my own? It's where God dwells. How am I nourishing that and spiritually, physically, mentally, and how I'm eating? Like, how am I taking care of that?
Mhm.
And it is. Did you have something, Cleopatra?
Oh, well, I think like to the point of, just throwing on something comfy or easy almost. And it's like we've talked about before, it's not that it has to be fancy. I like the kind of the scale of what am I doing today? So like you can dress appropriately for what you're going to be doing today. For example, the past couple weekends we've been doing house projects. So I'm not gonna dress up, but I can still like, intentionally choose to
Mhm.
wear something that is for like, we were moving concrete like tiles and we were painting our deck. So like you don't dress up for that.
Yeah.
But then when you are like just going about your day, whether it's at home or if you're going to work or whatever it is, still having that intention of like in this day and age, it's so easy to get away with wearing literally whatever you want.
Mhm.
And I think that another thing that you have to kind of become okay with is standing out in a good way. Because I mean, I've had like if you have like a sundress on, to some people that's dressed up and it'll be like, what are you so dressed up for? You're just, like, why are you so dressed up today? And I'm like, I'm not. I just put some intention into what I'm wearing. I wanted to present myself well, for God first, and then also for those around me, kind of how you carry yourself, that is for God first, and then also for the people around you. It's an example. And so I think that some people are like, well, people are gonna like stare or you're gonna stand out, and I think it's a matter of if it's for the right reasons,
Mhm.
then you shouldn't be worried about that. And like mom and I have had compliments, and I think people need to see that portrayal of people actually taking the time to just put the intention
Mhm.
into their clothing choices and then but first their mindset, because we discussed it before of you could have two people wearing the same thing and if their mindset one is in a more
Wise
ungodly
and healthy
place,
and God, yeah.
right? um and one is in the godly place and one is in the ungodly place, how it's worn is going to be totally different. And so I think that's also something to consider too, is that's why the mindset is so important before even what you choose to wear.
Mhm.
Mhm. And you were talking about the temple, and then what Cleopatra was talking about, the temple, God lives through us. God experiences through us. So what kind of experience are we giving God and our spirit,
Mhm.
through our body, through our life, through our clothing? Is it going to be crude and rude and rough and tough and, um, disrespectful, or is it going to be respectful, pure and innocent? Those two words seem non-existent in this day and age, being pure and innocent, which I feel needs to be heightened. It needs to be increased because being pure and innocent is a very fun thing to experience. and everybody is on the opposite end of it. And so how we're portraying it and how we're wearing it, like Natasha said, you can have two people with the same, two ladies with the same exact outfit. And we know it's what's going on the inside of us, the hurt, the pain, the trauma, the wounds, and so our clothing and our body is actually external to what's going on the inside and our mindset. And that's truly where we need to get to the heart of helping people, is helping with those wounds and those patterns and those unhealthy habits and those coping mechanisms and skills, or survival techniques and everything from their past or from our childhood. But we can start by, how am I right now? How am I behaving? How am I acting? How am I dressing?
I feel like when you start, when you make that mental change, or even that heart change, it's the heart and the mind and everything. But when you make that, it's not that hard to make change. I think physically, whenever whenever it kind of just comes naturally, when you have that mental change.
And you can do it two different ways. We can change our mindset, or we can do something like, okay, instead of me wearing these baggy clothes or this skimpy top or something, how about I'm just going to wear a different piece of clothing? And then that also helps you start to change on the inside, because, okay, I can feel better about myself.
Mhm.
Well, then the chemicals in our body, our brains, our neurons, everything starts to change. And then it's kind of like a cycle, because we've got our body and then we've got our mind and our brain, and it just, we've got to stop it somewhere. We've got to break it and say, okay, I'm going to stop this pattern. And
Right.
so people say, they're on the flip side, I understand about affirmations. They say, oh, affirmation doesn't work, but it really depends. We can't just say stuff, or we can't just think stuff. We also have to act on it. Faith with action equals the results and everything. Faith without action is pretty much dead or empty noise.
Mhm.
Well, and I think that's why for me it is a question of what are you mentally wearing today. It's not just an affirmation, it's a question that you actively have to answer, because there's only two ways to answer it. I'm either wearing positively, godly, wisely, or I'm wearing it negatively, ungodly, unwisely. And so I think framing it as a question of what are you mentally wearing today can be really helpful, because it's very simple, but like it's not just an empty affirmation or just like a quote hanging on the wall. So I think that could be a really good starting point too.
And we can wrap up here, but I would like to include, which I think we both will agree with, it's not about the cost of our clothing. It could be given to us. I have worn clothing from my sister for years and years and years and passed me down, or she got something at the Goodwill or the thrift store. It is not about the cost of clothing or where that clothing came from.
Mhm.
There is no shame around that. There is nothing. So I just wanted to clarify that, but our choices from there.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank both of you ladies, and we are thankful for whoever is here and watching this. We invite you to connect with us, and we invite you to learn more as we learn more. And we want to help educate and encourage you and others to be able to feel better about yourselves. We appreciate you and we're thankful for you. And I don't know if you ladies have anything to close with.
No, I just think that first of all, you watching this video is obviously taking the first step in being more aware of your mental attire. So I want to kind of congratulate you for watching this and taking the time to watch it. And now I hope you can apply it. And like Mom said, if you connect with us, we're more than willing to help you, talk to you. We want to help other people. And I think that's going to be a takeaway.
Yeah. And I think, we appreciate you and we want you to feel valued, and we want you yourself to know that you are of value and you're bought with a great price by God, and He loves you, He cares for you. And we're excited for you to join this journey with us.
Well, thank you and take care.